And this is why you never anger your wife. This is the case of Catherine Knight, the woman who killed her husband and tried to feed him to his own children. This is an extreme case. Viewer discretion is advised. Catherine Knight worked her dream job at a slaughterhouse and had serious mental issues. She was in and out of psychiatric hospitals and just had an array of problems. She went on to marry a few times, and every relationship was just as crazy and toxic as the last one. In 1995, she met a man named John Prince. They had moved in together, things were going smoothly. However, when she suggested that they get married and he declined, that's when she started to turn violent. During an argument in 2000, she attempted to stab him in the chest, took out a restraining order in an attempt to keep his 2 children safe. John was so concerned for his safety, he even told his coworkers if he ever went missing, it was because she killed him. On February 29, 2000, he came home from work and followed his usual routine. Catherine had came over and things were going okay, but then Catherine took out a butcher knife, so you don't miss the next part of this case. Catherine took out a butcher knife from next to her bed where she had always kept them and stabbed him 37 times. According to evidence, he woke up during the attack but could not fight her off. Catherine dragged his body downstairs, skinned him, and hung his body from a meat hook in the living room. Then she decapitated him and cut up pieces of his body to cook with a dish with potatoes, zucchini, beets, cabbage, squash, pumpkin, and gravy. She then made a dish for herself, although the half-discarded contents later found at the crime scene suggested that she couldn't finish her meal. She then laid down next to the headless, mutilated corpse, took a large number of pills, and passed out. His co-workers called the police after he didn't show up for his shift that next day. The police arrived to find Catherine Knight's gruesome crime scene. When she woke up, she claimed that she had no memory of the night before. In the kitchen, the police found Prince's head boiling in a pot of vegetables on the stove. On the table, they also found 2 full plates, each labeled with a name. Horrified, the police realized that Knight had planned to serve John's body parts to his children. She was arrested and the judge ordered that her papers be marked never released. For the first time in history, a woman in Australia was given the life sentence without parole. To this day, Catherine Knight maintains her innocence. Like my family, who is extremely homophobic, ended up kicking me out and replacing me with my best friend. My family is absolutely awful when it comes to talking about topics about the gay community. And literally any mention of that, they get extremely defensive. I had a friend who we're just gonna call Kate. They absolutely adored her. Every Christmas, they would buy her presents. She was always at Sunday dinner, family movie nights. Honestly, they treated her like she was the favorite daughter. So one day I decided to come out and I wanted to talk to Kate about it. She was so understanding and respectful about it. It gave me the confidence to go talk to my family about it. That was a bad idea. It caused World War II and they immediately kicked me out. So I found myself homeless, switching from couch to couch. One night I had a mental breakdown and I decided to go back home and visit them. I was really hopeful that they might let me back in. I got over there and my best friend Kate was there. She was playing board games and having family movie night with them. I burst into tears and I went off on all of them. Like the audacity. Later, my best friend texted me saying she had a secret. Follow for part 2. Part 2 to my homophobic family kicking me out of the house and replacing me with my best friend. So I cannot believe the audacity that my family had to literally replace me with Katie. Not only was she over there for a movie night, she literally moved into my old room, the room that I was raised in. I was so pissed off, I was about to flip out. I had to go take a walk around the neighborhood and try to calm down, but I eventually just started to walk back to my house that I was staying at. Once I got in, that's when I got the message from Katie saying that she was sorry and that she's been keeping a secret. And that's when she came out to me as bi and begged me not to tell my family because she felt like my family was her own and she was scared that they were going to kick her out. I was so frustrated. I couldn't believe she's been keeping the same secret that I got kicked out for. But I never end up telling my family, and it's been a full year now and she still lives with them to this day. But thankfully, I'm living with my boyfriend and his family has taken me in and accepted me for who I am.
Be careful on who you decide to meet up with on a dating app because you might just end up on a date with a narcissist. When I was in Denver, I ended up matching with a really hot 39-year-old who also happened to be a lawyer. I recently called off an engagement, so casually dating other people was kinda in the books for me. Before meeting him, I made sure I took all the usual precautions. We made it very, very clear what our boundaries were and said that there was no expectations. So like either of us could leave after a drink and it would be totally fine. Also, we made sure to FaceTime and he seemed super sweet, totally normal. However, the second we sat down, it seemed like he was on drugs. He would literally talk a million miles an hour about himself and wouldn't let me get a breath in. And the stuff he was bringing up was just odd. Like he even included that he broke off an engagement too. hold on to that thought. 2 drinks in, this man leans over and says, I've been diagnosed with bipolar and schizophrenic disorder, but I didn't want to talk about it over text. Because I don't know a whole lot about those mental disorders, I felt a little uncomfy. I also didn't feel like that was a first date topic. Then he literally starts joking about murdering me and states that he would use my dead body for Face ID to text my friend that I'm safe so the timing is off for the investigation. Like for part 2. Part 2 of going on a date with a narcissist. So I start getting uncomfy and getting ready to leave. He offers to call a car and I say, oh no, it's fine, you got my drink, I'm just gonna go. And he gets confused and he's like, wait, what's going on here? Are we not going home together? I expressed that I was just tired and I wanted to get back to my hotel so that I could sleep and get on the road in the morning. He could not have been more offended by this and kept trying to make sexual comments to get me to come back to his place. Like, no, that's creeping me out more. So I get into my Uber and I make it home alone. And he texts me, tell Elise I said happy birthday tomorrow. That is my mom's name and it was her birthday tomorrow, but I didn't tell him any of this information over drinks. That's when I realized he had found my Facebook and then he called me. He proceeded to go off and lecture me because he couldn't comprehend why I wouldn't sleep with someone as great as he is. He expressed how much better he is than my ex-fiance, who I never brought up over dinner. This is when he let me know that he did his research on me before even meeting me. And I realized that a lot of the conversations that we had over drinks was him just verifying that I was the same person he found on Facebook. He still contacts me and I don't know what to do or say. Follow for more.
Storytime, how I found out my substitute teacher was actually my biological father. So I went to school for my usual class and the teacher wasn't there that day, so we had a substitute. I could have swore that I recognized him from somewhere. There were times during class where I would look up and I feel like he would just be staring at me. I felt like there was this weird connection between us, but I couldn't quite place it. It was the last hour of the day and he asked me to stay after class. I immediately got the creeps, so I told him no, I had to catch my bus. I had not seen him for weeks after that. A few days later, I noticed a for sale sign in my neighbor's yard. So during their open house, I decided to peek out my window to see who was interested in buying their house. And there he was, my substitute teacher. I immediately got creeped out, ran upstairs, and just tried to focus on something else. Once the house was sold, I saw that it was my substitute teacher that actually bought the house. I was terrified, but I still felt a close connection to him. Then my mother offered for us to bring cookies to his house. She said it was the neighborly thing to do. So we went to go knock on his door. Like and follow so you can catch part 2. Okay, so part 2 to finding out my substitute teacher was actually my biological father. So the interaction between him and my mom was so awkward, he was clearly high. So my mom just set the cookies down at the door and we left. Many nights after that, I always felt like somebody was watching me. I constantly got the creeps. Then I started to notice little things going missing here and there. So I never made a big deal about it, but a few days later, this man invited my mom over for dinner and my mom made me go. And this encounter was just as strange and I could tell that it made my mom so uncomfortable. I asked to be excused to go to the bathroom and once he showed me, I did a little snooping. And in a room close to the bathroom, there were pictures of me and my mom. Like baby pictures of me and recent pictures of us that we were completely unaware of. I ran downstairs so fast and I told my mom, let's go. Once we left, I told her about the pictures and she filed a police report. The police ended up finding out that he was my biological father and he had been in the process of searching for me for 3 years. And to this day, my mom still will not talk to me about the situation. And this is why you never leave your drink alone. This is the case of the teacup poisoner. Graham Young had a fascination with chemicals and poison since he was little. Graham began poisoning relatives and school friends by lacing their food and drink with dilithium and antimony. He was caught when his school teacher became concerned with his interest in poison and contacted the police. When he was only 14 years old in November 1961, he mixed poison with tea and served it to his sister. As a result, his sister started getting hallucinations and was taken to a doctor to get checked. Tests at the hospitals revealed that she had been giving the poisonous plant belladonna. Young's father was suspicious, but he had no evidence to prove that it was his son's doing. He basically just warned his son to stop playing with chemicals. He then killed his stepmother when he was only 15. Police had gotten involved again, and according to the police statement, they claimed that he said, the doses I was giving were not fatal, but I knew what I was doing was wrong. He was admitted to a psychiatric facility for people with criminal offenses. Here, he was diagnosed with personality disorder. Psychiatrists warned that it was likely that he would poison again. He ended up staying there for 9 years. During his time at the facility, he poisoned several staff members and managed to kill a fellow inmate. He was given the title of teacup poisoner at that time. He was then released from the facility, believed to be fully recovered, but he would end up in prison again in 1970 after killing one more person and poisoning 7 more. This is where he lived out the rest of his days. What was his motivation, you ask? He had a strange and dangerous interest in poison and just wanted to observe their effects on humans.